and join you. I will be sharing a little bit about the renewable options and choices that we make available for our customers. So those are the voluntary things that they might opt to participate in outside of the standard electric and natural gas services that they receive as an Avista customer. So I'll focus primarily on Washington State. Unless there's Idaho reps on the line, that would be helpful to know. There are some nuances that we can share. But again, thank you for having me and look forward to having a good conversation with you all today.
Thanks, Joy. And yes, there are some Idaho folks on the call. Great. So any Idaho information, and we have dual agents. So some people who work in both Idaho and Washington. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. My name is Tom Linhart. I'm a mechanical engineer, but I've worked for 25 years to learn to speak to humans. So hopefully I'll be able to get stuff across to you. I want to start with a video I made, which is a Monkees song, which I kind of hope that you'll see as funny. If you're offended by anything, please don't share it with anybody else. But if you like it, that's fine. And so I'm just going to quickly change over here to show you a different screen with sound. So check this out. This is our starting warm-up. So here you go.
I thought work from home was true in fairy tales, meant for someone else, but not for me. COVID was out to get me, that's the way it seemed. People in masks haunted all my dreams. I can't see your face, now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm at home. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave here if I tried. I thought work from home would be a given thing. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. They've all blown up my schedule. All I feel is doom. You can meet anytime when you don't need a room. I got a COVID test. Now I'm a believer. Went in my nose and stopped in my mind. I'm at home. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave here if I tried. Oh, COVID was out to get me. That's the way it seemed. People in masks haunted all my dreams. I got a COVID test. Now I'm a believer. Went in my nose, out the back of my mind. I'm at home. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave here if I tried. I can see your face. Now I'm a believer. And not a trace of doubt in my mind. Yeah, I'm a believer. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I'm a believer. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm a believer.
Okay, well, anyway, that was just a little fun to get us started. I can't imagine how hard your work was during this last year. Everything that you do means meeting with the customers and taking them through homes and showing them things. And not only did we have an incredible market that's just been blowing up, but also you've had to do several things in difficult times. So I just wanted to recognize that and let you know that we kind of feel your pain. We've tried to been working through that same kind of thing as well. So now all I got to do is figure out how to forward my slides. Here we go. So, Joy, you can tell me or nod if you're seeing the next slide and everything's fine for you. You're all right?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, thank you. So with energy efficiency, we encourage customers to use less energy while achieving the same comfort, convenience, or performance. The reason we bring this up is that some customers, when they can't afford their energy, will curtail. And curtailment just means that you turn your heat way down, or your inability to pay for stuff causes you to have less energy use. That's not what we're doing. We want to provide the same services that you've had before, but do it with less energy. So we have several groups that work at Avista, and I should have added on this products and services, because there are program managers. I have a team of energy efficiency engineers. There's account executives that work with our uh, commercial customers. There's a planning and analytics team, and then products and services. We're starting to be more and more intertwined all the time. We try to be trusted energy advisors to people, but to be able to be trusted energy advisors, you have to know them, and they have to know that we have something to offer. So I hope this will be something that we can show you. We have something to offer to your customers. Um, We have 3 jurisdictions that we work in. If you look at the map in the upper right-hand corner of this, the yellow is our electric only, the green is our electric and gas combination, and the blue is gas only. And so you can see that we're quite spread out in eastern Washington and northern Idaho. But we have services for all of those customers. Um, Both in Oregon, we use the Energy Trust of Oregon, except the low income, to help give our customers rebates and the things that they need. But in Washington and Idaho, we operate the program uh, that we give here.
Hey,
There
Tom.
are, yeah, go
Hey,
ahead.
sorry. Do you have the ability to switch your sound back to maybe your headset? We're getting a lot of background noise from you, so it's a little bit hard to hear you.
Let me see what I've got going.
Hey, thank you. Sometimes if you go to the mute button to the far left, there's a little caret that goes to the select a microphone. So you can make sure that one's on your headset there.
How is that?
That is much better. Thank you so much. We can hear you
Well,
nice and clear now.
No, I appreciate that. I don't know why it moved from there, but I really appreciate you pointing
Of course,
it out.
thank you. Continue.
Okay, so we serve residential, commercial, industrial, and low-income customers, and we do it all differently. Residential customers are served mostly through a prescriptive mechanism where we will have a widget, and if you put the widget in, you get paid a certain amount of money. Commercial is a little more complicated, and so oftentimes we'll do things on a custom basis to help them. Really, the reason we do this is that it aids in our overall capacity, and it also defers capital investments. Um, our avoided cost for electricity is somewhere in the neighborhood of 5.5 to 6 cents a kilowatt hour for us to go out and buy it. It costs about 3 cents a kilowatt hour for us to save it by using efficiency and doing that. And so by us doing this efficiency work, we tend to, it costs us about half as much as what it would have cost otherwise. So that's kind of the background into why we do it. There's also law in the state of Washington. It's not a law in the state of Idaho, but in Washington, it's a law that we do these things. And we've been doing them since long before they ever had laws to make us do them. There are about 4 kinds of measures that we use to gain our savings.
There are shell measures, which are the envelope of a house, for instance, insulation, infiltration, how the house works with windows, walls, and roof. There are processes which are, heating water. A water heater is a process that we have. There's heating, ventilating, and air conditioning like furnaces, and then we have lighting. Right now, lighting makes up of our overall portfolio. Lighting makes up over half of the savings that we get, while people are switching all to LED lights. We have about 22 programs and 293 different kinds of measures that we offer our customers. In residential programs, the biggest things we have are space and water heat, both gas and electric. We also have insulation incentives, window incentives, and smart thermostats. Those are the things that are the biggest draws for people. In terms of doing low-income residential customers, we'll work with SNAP and CAP agencies in Idaho. And in that case, we'll often pay for full measures to be done so that those people will have less cost on their needs. So these are just a few things that you can see that we work on. In non-residential offerings, we do lighting, food service, natural gas, HVAC, insulation. So this is something you might want to think about for your local offices. If you have a commercial office building in any one of the, I guess Emma said there were 6 districts, that is, an Avista customer, then we're happy to see what we can do to help you use less energy in those areas too. So it's these pictures are engineers and account executives along with the customers that we've done work for, and we pose them to make them look happy and pay them a lot of money. I'm just kidding. So anyway, it's really a great thing. You get paid twice because you get to go out and help people save energy and money, and you also get paid to do the work. We have a long commitment to energy efficiency. We started back in 1978 wrapping hot water tanks. In fact, the last CEO, Scott Morris of the company, started at the company wrapping hot water tanks. And you see a couple different things here. The blue lines are the annual savings that we got during that particular year in megawatts. The line is the cumulative savings we get because a lot of the things we have more than a 10-year life, and so they're going to last a little bit longer. So you can see that these are big numbers. It might not mean anything to you, but an average megawatt will serve about 1,000 homes. So there's a lot of homes that we're now serving just with efficiency. Put in a different way, the annual savings we have right now over the last 10 years, the average annual savings is about the same as what we produce at our Upper Falls Dam. And then the cumulative savings we have is about the same as the generation from Post Falls, Upper Falls, and Monroe Street dams on the Spokane River.
Upside down.
Excuse me? Was there a question? Okay.
I'm not sure what that was, Tom. Go ahead.
I don't know. It was something about being upside down, and I have been before, so I was just trying to make sure. Now I'm going to turn it over, I think, to Joy and let her talk a little bit about tools and resources for renewables.
Thank you, Tom. All right, so I've taken a couple of different perspectives in preparing for this time with you all today. And the first is if you're working with a homeowner or business owner who is thinking about solar, I wanted to share with you a little bit about what Avista's role looks like in that regard. One of the first questions we always get asked is if we install solar. Avista does not install solar, but we do want to provide the tools and resources to help our customers make informed decisions. many times customers are thinking about solar because they want to support carbon reduction or the environment, but behind that decision also is some financial motivation. So many customers are seeking to reduce maybe their energy by installing solar. And this can be the case for some, but today it's typically not something that customers break even on for the first 15 to as much as 30 years. So that's an important part of the conversation to have with customers. And we offer a solar estimator tool on our website. So this is a no-cost tool that any Avista customer, whether you're in Idaho or Washington, could plug in your address and some high-level information about your annual energy costs and get that high-level estimate of what solar might cost you. This is using average installation costs that we're aware of in the market. And from that, you can say, okay, is this in the ballpark of something that might make sense for me in my home or my business? And from there, we recommend that you reach out to, or the customer reaches out to, a couple of different installers. There's a number of reputable contractors within our service territory, and we offer a online tool that includes a list of qualified contractors that have done work within our service territory. They have the right certifications, the right insurance. They've had some longevity in the market, and they are with good standing with our customers, so that we're not receiving a bunch of negative feedback. So we again recommend customers reach out to a couple of installers, get a feel for what their options look like and what different bids might look like, see where they're comfortable before investing. And then finally, Avista's real role is in the interconnection process. So typically the homeowner is fairly uninvolved in this process. The contractor will typically submit all of the paperwork on behalf of the customer. But we have information on our website that talks to you about net metering benefits. And this is really where that financial payback, if you will, would come from for your investment. So as an Avista customer, and this is true in both Washington and Idaho, if you choose to install solar on your home, you are essentially offsetting your electric use from the grid. So you're typically still connected to the grid, so you're going to still have power at night and times when maybe your system isn't sized to support your full electric load. And in summer months, you might actually be generating more energy than you are using. So in those months, Avista will, we bank kilowatt hour credits. So every kilowatt hour that the customer pushes back to the grid that they're not using real time is banked to their account. And we apply those credits in subsequent months, like in the winter when maybe their system is generating less and they're using more. So that net metering relationship is something that we manage in the back end. It's a financial transaction. It's an administrative transaction rather. We're not storing your solar and giving it back to you when you're using it. It goes back to the grid. It flows back and forth real time, but we are recording that for you so that you are able to receive the full benefit of your investment. The other thing that I think is important to note here is if it's a customer considering solar, think about what Tom shared up front on energy efficiency. You don't want to invest in a solar system to support your electric needs today if you're planning on making investments in your home to improve the efficiency. So think about energy efficiency first, reduce your overall energy usage. Saving the energy usage also means a greener footprint, a lower energy bill, and then go towards the solar option. There are different incentives at times across different states. Currently, there's no Washington state incentive. That's been something that has been available traditionally, but there is no dollars in the state budget for that currently. Idaho has a small tax credit, and then there's also a federal investment tax credit. So if you are a customer who has a taxable income, then there's federal tax investment credit that's about 26% of the cost of a system today. So there's some good options out there. We have all that information available on our website. We have a terrific solar team that's available to answer customer questions and talk through these different resources. It can feel overwhelming and complex, and we want to simplify that. So I have a email address listed there for the solar team, and the website for where you can find these tools and resources. And of course, we're always willing to pick up the phone and have conversation as well. Next slide, Tom. All right, so the next perspective I wanted to take is, okay, if you're working with a customer who's moving into a home that already has solar installed, what might you need to know? The first is Avista will send the information as it relates to net metering. So that billing mechanism that I talked about, capturing those credits and applying those credits, we will send the customer moving in to that home a kit to explain all of those options and a customer terms and agreements. And we'll apply those benefits on their behalf to their bill. So they don't necessarily need to do anything proactively beyond their starting service that any other homeowner would go through. Washington customers, I mentioned state incentives on the past slide. There has been state incentives in the past, and some of those run multiple years. So customers who've installed solar each year in June, there's a reporting period where Avista reports on behalf of the customers to WSU, who's the administrator of the program. And we then receive the compensation back from WSU and give that to the customer who has made that investment. So those tax credits are ongoing. Those incentives last for a number of years. And so there are customers that may have installed the system and applied for those incentives. And when they move out, the new homeowner would be eligible to receive those benefits going forward. And again, that's the WSU Energy program that facilitates that. And the new customer would want to engage with them directly to understand if there's benefits to be received, because that's not Avista's role in that. Next, thank you, Tom. All right, so the final option I wanted to talk through with you is what we call My Clean Energy. This program has been made available for customers who want to support renewable, but maybe they don't own a home, maybe they're renters, or maybe they don't have the large capital to invest upfront in this, in installing solar on their home, their business, or their property. So we have a couple of different options that customers can participate in. Essentially, by participating, it's a no contract, low risk way to offset the carbon emissions associated with their energy use on a month-to-month basis. So for as little as 1 penny per kilowatt hour, customer can offset 100% of their energy use. That's 1 penny on top of what they're already paying. So that's the solar premium, if you will. That's the difference between the cost of standard electricity and renewable electricity through this program. And again, no contracts. All of our Washington and Idaho customers are eligible. Tom showed a map with Oregon. We don't serve electricity to our Oregon customers, so this is just for current Avista customers. And I'm going to mention one last thing on solar before I turn it back to Tom. He's going to talk to you a little bit about resiliency, and we've obviously experienced a number of storms and outages over the past year, which have gotten additional customers thinking about this idea of solar. And what's really important to note is customers who install solar will not have power in the event of an outage without some other form of backup generation. For the safety of our linemen and crews, there's switches that disconnect those solar systems from backfeeding into the grid in the event of an outage. So it's really important to note that if a customer is thinking about solar and doing this as a means to support themselves through the event of a larger grid outage, there's additional investments that they might need to consider to make that a reality. All right, Tom.
Thank you, Joy. you're going to have a chance to talk to Joy more because I've only got 3 or 4 more slides to go through. And I know that you have a lot of questions for her on renewables, which is absolutely wonderful. This last few slides, both those that Joy are doing and the ones that I'm doing, are some of the issues that we think need to be talked about, especially by people like you who are professionals in the home selling and home buying fields. Customer resilience has really popped its head up as being an important thing especially in the last few months. In January and February, we had several outages in the Northwest. Not only the windstorm in Spokane, but also Texas had an unprecedented cold snap. I know about that one because I have a home in the Woodlands, Texas, and my son had to live in my house while the electricity was out of his, and he would swap back and forth because they were having rolling blackouts because they didn't have enough power to supply everybody. Very few of us knew how to handle cold. And so while my son's house and my house did fine, over 25% of the people lost pipes in the outage in Texas because they didn't know how to keep their stuff from freezing when the power went out. It made me have a sense of a need to educate customers more than I've ever had before. When I came back, I spent 2 weeks. My oldest son is a plumber in Great Falls. He brought 2 truckloads of equipment down. We spent 2 weeks in the Houston area helping people in their homes. And he spent another 2 weeks after I left and just stayed in my house and went out and helped. This home that I'm showing you here had a dime sized, this is a 1/2 inch copper pipe with about a 1/2 inch hole in it. So when this broke in the attic, it knocked down ceilings and all kinds of things that just fell down in this home. It took my son about 20 minutes to repair the plumbing, but this probably was $5,000 worth of damage to the home in the other things that happened. So this was a reason why I was really concerned that sometimes I see people don't really even know how to run their own homes for resilience when we have a power outage. And so that's really part of what I'm trying to talk about today. And I would love to take questions and talk about it more if you want to later. So the new codes in Washington State that just took effect the 1st of February will not allow for any standing pilot lights in homes. So if you happen to be a person who lost power in January during the windstorm and you had hot water because you had a gas hot water tank, if you had a new home, you would have to supply electricity to the water tank or it wouldn't fire up. You would have to have a backup generator or you couldn't get your furnace to light. There would be no standing pilot in your fireplace, so you couldn't heat with your fireplace while you were waiting for the electricity to come back on. Most people don't know this. So I have a brand new house just built 2 years ago, and I have a battery pack on my fireplace so that if power goes out, I can still light my fireplace if I need to. And now I believe that we need to start training people and walking through with people how to use their stuff if they have an outage. And the more electrification that's coming due to the fact that we have a lot of people who don't want fossil fuels being used in homes, the more people are going to probably be at risk if we do have outages. So this is just, some of the things that I bring up. Is there anything we can do to help our all electric customers with their resilience? Should we warn people about not having another fuel as a backup at least? Can we position ourselves to help those with electric homes use battery backup for certain needs? And I'm talking Tesla sized batteries. And I just saw a question pop up. Is Avista supportive of a switch from natural gas as a heat source to electric in our new construction homes here in the Washington state? We're not, we don't believe in taking choice away from customers. they should have the ability to do what they want. Presently, if you switch a gas customer to an electric in heating, you'll actually cause more carbon for the next 12 years because when you switch from gas to electric, we are using marginal electric generation, not the normal generation we have with all the dams and renewables and everything else we have. And so while it may be a good thing to do 15 years from now, today it's really not a good thing to do for lower carbon. So I hope that answers your question, but we try to let our customers have what they want. I think choice is really important. So anyway, the bill didn't get passed to wipe out natural gas, and I don't know that it's going to. And obviously, we have a lot of infrastructure and a lot of needs here in our climate zone that don't match the needs on the I-5 corridor, where most of the people in Washington live. And so we're working hard to try to talk with regulators and everybody else to say, can you treat us differently when we do need a heating source? Maybe sometimes heat pumps don't necessarily work for us. Can we have other things, even though it might work great in the I-5 corridor? So that's kind of where we're at with that kind of work. Finally, I want to show you a eye chart, which Joy helped me with. And I think this is about as good as I could boil down what the new codes mean to people who are building new homes. And you guys deal with a lot of new homes. And so what you need for a home that's greater than 1,500 square feet is you need to have 6 credits of the things that they can choose to do to make that home, to build that home. And so there's an electric baseline that when they made this up, they actually tried to make the electric be the cheapest that it could be. But obviously I started looking through it, especially when I started concerning myself with resilience and trying different other things to see if that would help. So I don't know if you can see my mouse, but these options are the Washington Energy Credit Table options. So the 1-point X's are all envelopes. So if you make it 40% better, you can get 3 points. The 2-point X options are all of the infiltration options. So if you can tighten your building up so much that you can get a 0.6 ACH 50, you can get 2 points for doing that. For a 95% gas furnace, you can get a 1 point. For an air source heat pump, you can get 1.5 points. Ducts buried inside of insulation or inside gave you points. Gas water heater that's high efficiency can get you a point. You get a lot of points for having a tier 3 heat pump water heater. So this is kind of just your view into this. Is kind of a snapshot of what is it going to cost me to do these things and where am I going to be best. So to take 3 scenarios, let's say you do want gas, water, and space heat in your house. So what it means is you're going to have to build your envelope 30% better at a cost of about $8,000. You're going to have to put in a ACH 50 of 2 at 2,700. I would recommend that no matter what you're doing. And then with your gas furnace, your ducts inside, and your gas water heat, you get 6 credits, and the total cost to you is about $12,000 more, or $12,000, and that's about $4,500 more than the base electric would have cost. If you want to get points and use a mixture of gas and electric, you can do gas aux heat. So you don't get credit for the high efficiency furnace, but you can put in a heat pump and have that gas available to you if there's an outage and if you have a generator, so you can fire up just enough power to run it. And then finally, over here, Joy helped me with this. You can put in natural gas for your heating and water heating and throw in 3, what it would be, Joy, help me on how much
3
solar
kil-
would,
That's 3 kilowatts of solar.
okay. And that'd cost you almost $11,000. But the truth is, by the time you got done, it really isn't a big price over the other choices. And down here on the bottom kind of tells you how much am I going to pay for these. If you got an all electric unit, you're going to pay $800 or $740 a year for your water heat and home heat. And if you got a gas space and water heat, that'd be $473. If you got gas, water, and space, different scenario, each of these. But you look over here, and if you got your 3 kilowatts of solar, your annual water and gas heat would come down to about $142. So the reason I'm saying this is that everybody looks at the new codes as being something horrible. Truly believe that if we use them correctly and if we bend them to our own needs, they're fine. We just have to be really careful about how we use them. So I have one question. My understanding is that it would be very difficult for new homes to have an on-demand water heater. And actually, it isn't difficult. You get a point for a natural gas tankless heater. And I have them in both of my homes. And they are wonderful. I just really like it. It's just that they take a little bit of maintenance and you have to know how much calcium there is in your water. Everybody's different. If you're on the West Plains and you're drawn from up on the West Plains, you're going to need to flush a tankless unit about every 3 months because there is a lot of calcium on the West Plains. If you're drawn from the aquifer, it's not that bad. 6 months to a year, a flush of that unit will be okay. But it's the education we haven't given people. So, and I appreciate that question too. The builders saying they can't meet 6 credits if they're using on demand. Well, what they can do is put in a gas water heat, or they can meet it. It's just that they don't want to put in all this other effort to do a better envelope and a better this $9,000 or $10,000 is what I've been told by the builders, and I've been in a lot of meetings with them, is that these costs that I'm showing turn out to be 3 times greater when you're selling the home. So this $10,000 difference here, by the time everything gets rolled in, turns out to be a $30,000 difference in the cost of that home. And frankly, custom homes are putting in gas anyway. So it's really the track homes that we're having trouble with. So that's great. And you guys can have my emails at the bottom of this deck. So I think it is. If it's not, you can get to me through energyengineers@avistacorp.com. And my phone number, if you're ready to write it down, is 509. I'll just put it in the chat because then I think the chat gets saved with.
And this whole this whole thing will be recorded as well and shared. So all of this will be in that recording. I'll attach contact info to that email, follow-up email as well.
I just gave you my cell phone, so you can't complain about that. Okay, here's a good question coming in. Possibility of running gas around Newman Lake since it's already on. What you need to do is call into Avista and ask construction services to give you a bid for doing that. And then maybe your neighborhood could get together and bring it around. Does that help? Great. You don't, if you want to now, I think maybe Emma will let you ask questions verbally.
Sure, yeah. If anyone has questions that they want to ask, put them into the chat. Just do the little hand raise, whatever you'd like to do. I know there was one question a little while back that I think we jumped over. And that was, so This was a friend asked me, ... If and when the West Side has a huge earthquake or whatever natural disaster may happen, and hordes of people are heading our way, does Avista have, in the city of Spokane, have an emergency plan if that were to happen for Washington and Idaho, if we did get a mass influx of people or whatever that may be?
I can tell you that I am pretty sure we don't have a west of the Cascades falling into the ocean plan. But we're already getting that, and you guys already know it more than anybody else. Since we've had remote work, we've had tons of people moving to Spokane and Coeur d'Alene from Seattle and Portland and other places. In fact, our property values have gone up mostly because these people have come from higher value properties where they don't care what they're paying for a new one. And I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's already happening. But I appreciate the question. I didn't show it on the slide, but if you look back at our slide that we have a storage facility. We're one of the few utilities who store natural gas underground, so that we have natural gas available if there is an issue without going to the wellhead. And that's just some of the things that we do to prepare. I got the question a lot after Texas lost a lot of their gas and electric because of the cold. And we are so used to the cold that that's probably not going to be an issue for us like it was for what happened in Texas. But we do have storage and we do have capability. We'll have to have a place, we'll have to have homes for those people to move into if we're going to have them all move over here, though. There's another question here about elaborate on how $9,000 turns into 30. You can ask some of the larger home builders. Maybe you can get a meeting with them on with you, but it was the home builders who told me there's a 3x difference between every dollar they have to put into the house as a contractor and what the sale of the house ends up being. 3
So
times
it's the
more
cost to value relationship, not that the cost goes up, correct?
Correct. And it has to do with mortgage, interest, all kinds of other things, and carrying costs of all the things that they put in. And I'm not as I think it'd be best to have a builder tell you that, but that is what they've told me. What does it cost to switch from oil to gas within the city? Depends on first of all, if you have oil and the gas is in the street and you're changing to heat with it, there's generally not a cost to bring the gas to your house in a meter because we calculate the fact that we're going to be selling more to you because of that. So your costs are plumbing your home or tapping on to what plumbing is already there for the propane to go to the devices. And then changing from propane to gas is actually easier than a lot of things because the higher heating value of propane is a little higher. So give you an example, if you were changing a propane barbecue to natural gas, you'd drill the holes out in the barbecue about twice as big as they used to be, and then that would be perfect for running natural gas. So natural gas has a little lower heating value, so you need to put more through to get the same amount of heat that you get from propane.
So I see a question about solar, and I was just going to say there might be a few more numbers in there to be able to give you a good, well-informed answer. We calculate the cost of solar as the cost per watt installed. So it depends on the number of watts within a panel to help with a part of that equation. But the Washington state incentive that was available just a couple of years ago had a sliding scale depending on when you installed of a per kilowatt hour incentive. So for every kilowatt installed, and for a home in our service territory, typically we see 7 to 9 kilowatts per home can offset close to 100% of your energy. For each kilowatt installed, a customer will expect to produce about 12 to 1300 kilowatt hours of energy a year. And it's that production value that informs the rebate or incentive that you're getting. So I'm happy to maybe have another conversation with you to look. I can look up your account too and follow up with you offline if you'd like. I'm sorry that it was a disaster.
We are working with the sustainability group in the city of Spokane and working with them to try to let them understand the true nature of carbon, because sometimes people get a little more idealistic than scientific when they're looking at what's really happening. And so all we're trying to do is to just bring forward the science. This is what's happening. The other question that was up there that I didn't answer is, would we back someone who is making an all electric new home? And our incentives are just based on the efficiency of the equipment. So we're more than happy to incent high efficiency electric equipment the same way we do high efficiency gas.
I do have one question that came in directly to me that I will forward on to you guys. They're just wondering, is there anything specifically that you see as being the lowest or the highest maintenance type of feature that you can put into a home? Is there anything where you kind of install it and it's there and you don't have to think about it? Or do they all require a certain amount of maintenance?
Well, I may have caused that question by talking about a tankless tankless water heater. I often make the mistake of saying hot water heater. Why would you have a cold hot water heater? Anyway, those things all require maintenance. If we don't believe that we need to change our furnace filters, and if we don't believe we need to maintain our devices, then they're going to start operating in a non-optimal manner, and we are going to be paying more and more for fuel all the time. And so I would say the two biggest things that save you, or let's just start with things that are going to save you money. Every 6 months, brush all the dust off of your refrigerator coils. Every month, depending on where you live, okay, if you live in the West Plains and the wind's blowing all the time, I would say change your furnace filters every month to 2 months. If you're living in a really clean area where it has a lot of asphalt and you don't get a lot of dirt, maybe 3 months would be okay. But that's really going to depend on what you do. So, and then if you have any kind of water heater, you should dump the water out of it at the base of it every year just to get all the calcium out that's in the bottom. I think we lose a lot of water heaters due to the fact that they build up calcium in the bottom and they can't have as many things as they should have. So those are things that I think everybody should understand that they need to do. Obviously, dryers, there's a really cool lint filter in there, but what I've done in the past is I've removed my lint filter holder, which actually has some screws and you can pull it out, and found out that there's even lint behind it that causes the air to not flow through. And so I'm not being as efficient drying as I could be. Do I have a good duct clean that air can go out of so that I'm not causing my clothes to not dry as fast, whether they're electric or gas? Those things all should be done. So I hope that helps. And then Bree, I just will tell you, we have 4 people on the sustainability task force in different areas. So we are on the sustainability team there.
Great, thank you guys. I think we answered most of the questions here. I will share this information, the contacts, so if you guys think of something later on, and we can always loop back. You guys have great contacts now in the industry that you can reach out to if you do have questions that come up. Thank you so much, Tom and Joy, for joining us today. We really appreciate all the information. And yeah, maybe we'll have to talk again when things are bound to change every year. Basically, it looks like everything's going to change. So we'll keep in touch, and I will share all of this information that you were able to share with us today. And everyone on the call, I do have this PowerPoint as well. So if there was a slide that stuck out to you that you would love to look back at, let me know and I can definitely share it with you. Yeah, and anyone who wants to stay on the call, feel free to unmute yourself, turn your video on, chat with whoever's on the call. And everyone enjoy the rest of the day. Tom and Joy, thanks again. Have a great weekend and enjoy the warm weather that's coming, it looks like.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. And yes, Kelly, I can share that chart of energy credits right in that follow-up email. I'll save that separately and just attach it there so you can download it straight from that follow-up email. If anyone has listings, buyers, anything that they want to chat about, feel free to unmute now. This is your time.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Marr here. I have a listing coming up next week that will go live, just to let people know if you happen to have any buyers. It'll be 1.35. It's on Browns Mountain, 3 acres. It's a great family home with a sports court, a pickleball court, even though I can't say a family home when I advertise it, but it's got 4 bedrooms, 4.5 baths. It's built in the 90s, but it's been updated throughout, generally over the years. There wasn't one big